Well, my last game on this part one of the low maintenance opening Torre attack video comes from the Sirac Interzonal in 1987. And playing white is Grandmaster Valery Saloff, playing black Grandmaster Jesus Maria de la Villa Garcia, one of Spain's finest players. But before we actually get into the moves, I want to try and summarise what we may have learned on this DVD, on this video. Now, what can white expect from the Torre attack? Okay, let me try and list it. Firstly, I think he can expect easy, rapid development of the minor pieces. We've seen the knights coming out to f3 and d2. We see the white bishops on g5 and d3. So white can expect a very solid, coherent position coming out of the opening into the middle game. White can expect late opening and early middle game plans which are simple enough to understand. We've seen white going for the kingside attack using the knight on e5 as a bridgehead, and we've seen white trying to force through the move e4 in the early middle game, often with decisive effect. I think white can expect a high percentage of wins at club level or at average level when black does not know how to react to white's standard plans. I think white can expect a rock-solid pawn formation, and white can expect a position which is not overly complex, irrespective really of the response that black chooses. I'm not saying that the Torre attack is a winning opening. Indeed, white can expect no advantage whatsoever in many cases when black adopts a theoretically recommended setup. But that's hardly the point, because to what detail is theory known at club level amongst players who are, say, under 2200? My experience is that these players have only a very sketchy knowledge of theory, and in particular, a theory connected with queen's pawn openings. It's okay if it's a very sharp opening, or it's, the player's particular baby. But queen's pawn openings are rather elusive. The Torre system attack the London system, the Collie, the Stonewall. All these systems, the club player finds horrible to play against. In fact, we're going to encounter some of these systems a bit later on in the low maintenance openings series. Finally, and this is very important, this is most important of all, I think, white can expect a decent position every time without the need to study much. And this last point will be of particularly use to the busy player who has little time to sift through chess books or indeed to look over games in a huge database. Which brings us to the game Saloff versus Villa Garcia. And the opening is another one of those lines in the Torre that's actually quite sharp, sharper than it looks, where black moves in with queen b6 early, attacking the pawn on b2, and white elects to sacrifice the pawn with knight bd2. Now, having come this far, I think black should take on b2, whether he takes on d first or not, d4 first or not. I mean, I think otherwise the queen would simply be displaced. So de la Villa Garcia took. White brought out his bishop to d3, black played d5, and now white moved in immediately with bishop takes f6. I think it's a good idea to lame the black pawn structure in this manner, because, it's going to take black quite some time to find a safe haven for the king. Meanwhile, white is ready to whisk his king to safety with castles at the earliest possible opportunity, and this is black's problem. Black's a pawn up, it looks like it might be a safe pawn as well with two bishops, but it's difficult for him to get his king to safety. So white must continue opening up the game as quickly as he can, and thus c4 is the move that fits the bill, and that's what Saloff played here. Alright, queen to c3, gaining time by attacking the bishop. Bishop retreats to e2, c takes d4, and now white continued bringing pieces into the fray with rook c1. In this type of position, opening things up is the order of the day. And now c takes d5, hit the bishop on c8. Knight a6. Black gets his pieces developed. Knight takes d4 by white. Queen takes d5. And finally white gets to castle. So just summarising this position, I think white has excellent compensation for a pawn. In the old days, it was thought that sacrificing a pawn in the opening was worth 3 tempi. Well, if we count the tempi here, we can see that actually white is 4 tempi ahead. He's developed his rook, he's developed 3 minor pieces to black's 1, and he's also castled. So I make that 4 tempi for the which is pretty good compensation. Add to that the difficulties black is experiencing in getting his king to safety, and we can quickly understand why the Spaniard gets into so much trouble in this game. Well, basically, you've got to hammer away at black's position here. You know, you mustn't let him get his pieces out, you mustn't let him rest. And knight c6 was Salov's excellent continuation here. And, well, obviously black can't take that. Meanwhile, the knight takes up a very influential post right in the heart of black's camp. Black is in trouble. De la Villa Garcia, castle. Queen e2. It's interesting, white doesn't stop to take on e7. He continues to keep the knight where it is, and black tries to shift it one more time by playing knight b4. Of course, if black captures on c6, white moves it with the bishop, and he forks the queen and the rook. Not to mention the idea of queen g4 checking the rings, just waiting to be played at the convenient moment. So white has a huge initiative here. A good idea for the defender, when the other guy's got the initiative, is to try and exchange off the attacking pieces. But the problem with knight b4 that I have is that it doesn't help black's development in any way. Thus, white continues to create direct threats by hitting f6, and then brings the last piece into the game, which is rook fd1. So white is setting the scene for a direct and decisive attack. Queen e8. Rook c7. There is still work to be done, improvement to be made. Now white sets up the threat of queen to b2, and then rook takes e7, after which f6 drops and the black king position is laid waste. Black plays e5 to shut down the diagonal, and now white switches tack with knight g3. The problem is that black is still not getting any pieces out here. He's still moving around the pieces that have already been developed. And now white moves him to the kill with a beautiful move, rook takes c8. Rook takes c8, and now perhaps a slightly unexpected move. You might be expecting white to play bishop g4, or maybe knight f5. Instead, Salov plays the really excellent move here, bishop e4, with the twin threat of queen h5, hitting h7, and queen g4 check, which is actually a very unpleasant fork, forking the king and rook. So, black is very hard pressed to defend against that threat. He tried f5, but that is rather a desperate solution. If he goes king h8, we just move in with queen h5, and well, black is simply not coming back from this one. Otherwise, f5, well, white took it off with the knight, threatening queen g4 check. Black parked his king in the corner. Knight d6, queen e6. That was a very unpleasant fork, but there's nothing to the skewer that follows after bishop e5. So De La Villa Garcia resigned. A game in which white's initiative gathered momentum early on, and well, actually, Salov never looked back after he sacrificed those pawns in the open. So this is proof positive that the Torre attack can generate a withering assault against the black position. He even goes slightly wrong. Remember that black in this game was a grandmaster. So that's the end of part one. On part two of the DVD, we'll be going on to looking at more Torre attack games, more formations for black, and more interesting ideas that you can use in your own games.